Hello, thank you for joining us today. We have a real treat. We're going to be doing an interview with Pastor Al and Terry Purvis, who have a ministry in Thailand. So we're going to be connecting with them today. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I know we're going to gain such great insight and revelation from this interview because they have been in ministry for many, many years.
It's great to hang out with you, Sherry, on this nice cold COVID morning. And I think, the overwhelming thankfulness of the goodness of God, right, through everything that goes on. It was, of course, back in March, the end of March, when Thailand went into lockdown. And then we had to make some sudden decisions, right? So the people that were going to stay there and run the ministry, Matt and Becky are still there running the ministry, and that's all going really good. And then the Bible college students from Canada jumped on a plane, and then Terry and I were the last ones on the plane. And we got to the Bangkok airport, and it's just like the world's turned upside down, right? And so there's 100 flights listed on those big boards, right?
Right.
And they're all canceled except one. Right?
Wow.
And we'd already changed tickets 3 times, it was it's just mayhem, right?
Yeah.
Chaos. And so we jump on the plane, and we had our youngest daughter, Esther, with us coming home as well. She was coming back to get a job here. And we jump on the plane and travel to Canada, and the kids, Derek and Margaret, brought our truck and parked it at the airport because we couldn't meet them. And they left it curbside, and we came out of the airport and jumped in a truck and got home to our little house in Harvest Hills. And but we made a video of the whole thing because in the seriousness of it all, it's just hilarious that we find ourselves in these kind of situations. And I think the situations that we find ourselves in during this COVID thing, and everybody's having, and I think one of the unique things is that nobody's having the same experience as the other guy. Right? It's all different for all of us, but we've made kind of made light of it a lot in the sense that it's probably no worse than a lot of the other stuff that we've been through in our lives, and I think anybody could say that. And so it's been a lot of fun, but what's come out of it is some amazing things all across the nations of Asia. We've got churches that we're planting in 10 countries. In Asia, from Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, India, all the way across Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, and to see all of these guys that we've poured into for years rise to the top in their nations, becoming, because it seems like there's a choice you have to make, right? Are we the victim or the victor, right? In all these things,
right?
And we've built such a culture of victory. Like in more ways than one does. And that we see our guys rise up and do things that are just so out of the box,
right?
To minister to the people around them in all of their nations. And so they become the head and not the tail, And I think that's really what we're enjoying out of this season. I think that's the big takeaway for us, is that we're the head and not the tail. And we found that the creativity that the Holy Spirit gives us to be able to continue things like our Bible school is running full time still all over the world now instead of just in Thailand, And our schools are running. Some of them are online. They're online this week. They're locked down next week. They're they're free. It's just topsy turvy. But the creativity and just the ingenious ideas that God gives, and the way that our people are so strong. And just rising up and this thing, this is our opportunity. It's not a problem; it's an opportunity. Right?
Yeah, that is so cool and insightful. That you're seeing it that way, and it's true. Like there's the scriptures that tell us that God takes our bad situations and works them to good, and I see that in what you're sharing. People are rising up and doing things that they maybe never would have thought to do on their own, but because of the circumstances, they're in a place where they have to come up with creative ways, and so that's awesome. And that just speaks also to the ways that you've equipped them and all the seeds that you've planted in them, right? So Can we go back just a little bit and speak about maybe, about what you guys were doing there, the Bible colleges, the number of students that you had? And
Oh my, yeah. There's a lot going on, eh?
Our house is like a railroad station.
Yeah.
People coming,
An
going
Indian
all the
one,
time.
right? An Indian railway station.
An Indian railroad station.
Yeah.
And where we live in Syracuse, it's the platform. And trains are coming and going constantly.
Wow.
So it's different being in lockdown, and it's just Al and I in the house. It's like, where's everybody else?
Yeah.
Well, that's really the different part. But the basically, so the history is that we went to Thailand in 1982. 82. Gathered a bunch of orphans that were left over in refugee camps from the Vietnam War, raised them as a family, the El Shaddai family. So we have 33 kids, and of course now we've got hundreds of grandkids, right? But these kids, we raised them up in the ministry, and they're the pastors and leaders of a lot of ministries today, and very, very, very powerful, kids. When you can get, one of the issues with some of these nations that are gospel-less nations is that to build the foundation takes a generation. And so that was kind of our approach. If we can build a generation of actual growing up in a Christian home and a Christian family, and then having that vision in the heart as well, and then not only that, but they have the family heart, which is really powerful, and they're the people that you can absolutely trust, and and so it's a lot of fun these days to watch them going out and into all of the nations, and then out of that we started planting churches when they got old enough they needed more to do. Then we started the International Bible College, and we bring students in from pretty well Asia and North America, right, and England and places like that. So we try to do a mixture. It's all done in English medium, so that the idea being that a kid from Burma, say, can come to Thailand. It's just across the border. It doesn't cost them an arm and a leg like it would to come to Canada or something like that.
Right.
And they can get a very similar Bible college training. Wow. But not only that, but we really focus on the mentoring. So we teach them how to weld, how to do construction, how to do wiring, plumbing, and all that kind of stuff as well. And that's part of the reason that we see this creativity coming out. Now, these guys will do anything. The issue isn't so much to learn the skills, but it's to learn the mindset.
Yes.
That the answer to the problem is not lay down in the hammock, but find a solution and let's move ahead. And so that's what we're really seeing. And I think that's really our joy, is to see all of these young men and women like now all across the nations. And I think we've had probably 16 some nations in our Bible college.
Wow.
As well as there's a number of people in Canada that have been trained over there as well and doing very well here. So that's really, really fun. And then in each nation, of course, there's all kinds of different models of ministry. Pakistan, for example, is free schooling for poor kids. And the idea is to get them out of to keep them out of the terrorist camps, right? And into the ministry, right? And so to break that generational thing there. So that's a big thing there. Of course, in the Philippines, it's really an open country. It's a Christian nation by statistics. And so there's a lot of Bible training and refreshing there and breaking religious things there, right? So there's just a lot of stuff. And of course, the music is a huge thing. Nowadays, young people, we do, our Victory Worship Band does concerts in a lot of the countries around. And, thousands of people show up. And it's a way nowadays that you can reach out. Back in the day, I mean, when we were younger, you would do an open-air crusade. And people would come by the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or whatever. They don't come to that anymore. They're driving, BMWs and they've got big flat-screen TVs at home. So they don't, they're not intrigued by those kind of things. But the music is really,
it opens.
it does open the doors. So that's a huge focus. So we've got full-time.
And people say sometimes music may not work. I remember Becky and the band went into Burma one time, and they had a lot of feedback from pastors saying it's not going to work because, number one, the music's in English, so nobody's going to come. And a whole bunch of bands were invited, and I think it ended up just 3 different bands coming, including Becky's worship band. And on the first night, there was 3,000 people.
Yeah, 3,000.
By the third night, there was 5,000 gathering. worshiping God out in the open air.
Wow.
And the pastors were saying it couldn't be done. We've kind of learned this as missionaries.
Wow.
You can't tell us it can't be done.
Yeah.
I love hearing it.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Oh, well then.
Yeah, it's like don't tell
Just
anything.
watch.
Going in the jeep in the jungle and it's steep, you never tell Pastor Al you can't go down there because
Yeah.
he will take the jeep and whoever's on it will down the hill. So it's like we just be very careful what we say around Al.
Yeah. You
Wow.
gotta go for the challenge. So.
Yeah, you do.
Wow, that is so cool to hear that. And that speaks of the creativity that God gives you even when we weren't in COVID, in regard to like focusing on the music part of it. So maybe talk a little bit about that, about the music part of things, because that's a really big part of your ministry, isn't it?
Basically, Terry and I got saved in the kind of the hippie Jesus movement thing, and everybody was a musician in those days. A generation before that, nobody except maybe Elvis Presley was a musician, Chet Atkins, But,
Yeah.
but then it caught on, right, in our generation. And so when we went to Thailand, we actually packed our guitars and our PA system, took the speakers out of the boxes and built new boxes over there, and we carried on and we
took
taught.
everything.
Wow.
We taught all 33 of our kids to play some musical instrument. And so when they were like 10, 11, 12 years old, our family was the only Christian worship group or music group in the whole country of 70 million people that traveled around. The only one. So every crusade we got to do, Full Gospel Businessmen, Women's Aglow, we were doing it all, right?
Wow.
And then laying that foundation. So out of that comes the real soon the creativity, and then you've got people like Becky and her group, and there's about 5 of them there, and they are like full-time writers, arrangers, musicians, and then they do other things to bring income in to support themselves and those kind of things. But the whole idea is that I really see, because you look at places like Hillsongs and Planet Shakers, and those guys have broken open huge areas of the world through the worship music, and so particularly when you got people that don't have any gospel foundation. Like maybe at least we had some, right? My grandparents went to church, right? But nowadays the Bible, what's that, right? But the music is a real way to get through to people's hearts, and they really do listen, and they really do connect. And so the other side of it, of course, is that you think of places like Hillsongs, and the number of young people, or Bethel, the number of young people that want to go to Bible school there. There's way too many, because they think they're going there to get involved in the worship. There's no room. But we notice with that attraction, so it's the breakthrough into new areas, and also the attraction of young people who have the potential to become great leaders. And that's really our goal when it comes right down to it. Pastor Dave asked us a few months ago, what is it that you really do? How can you explain? He's actually the chairman of our charity,
right?
And a huge help. And he says, how can we explain this? And so we worked over it and prayed over it for a long time, and basically it comes down to we make leaders.
Wow.
Everything we do is to make leaders.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
That's the discipleship making process, right? A disciple is not a follower; he's a disciple maker.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
So we just see that potential in people, and I think too, Sherry, when you got guys that are like our generation, and you see such potential in young people that are quite accustomed to people not seeing any potential in them. They just. It's fun to watch the young people that come, even from Canada, come to Bible school in Thailand.
Right.
And they're like, I'm home.
Yeah.
They just love it. It's hard. It's dirty. 5:30 in the morning, exercise, chicken feet for breakfast. And it's just, at the first, they're just shocked. They can't believe that somebody's going to put them through such a rigorous torture test. But in no time, they're so proud of what they're able to accomplish, and we see people that are undisciplined become disciplined, even in their thinking, and as well as their actions, and then catch vision. So I could see what I could do here, I could do that there, and I can minister to youth, and we see the gifts come up in them, and so I think that's a huge part of it is doing things that let young people know that we see tremendous potential in them.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it together. I love it. Al always uses the illustration. Jesus came down and picked the 12, and they came down on a level place. And for Al and I, we don't have any pyramid in our ministry. It's like more like a round table. And so when these students come in, they see us as we are.
Right.
And we're very much involved with their lives. We're there every day. They see us every day.
Yeah, we all live in the same building.
Same in the building.
Right.
And so when he's digging a trench in the jungles for some new toilets, Al's in there with them. And so we do everything together. I think one of the highlights of the students is when we do jungle trips.
Wow.
We wash by the river and do our clothes, and we cook.
Yeah.
And we freeze, and we tell stories around the campfire. But the neatest thing is they go into these villages and they begin to minister, and they begin to see miracles. It totally changes their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see blind people get healed as a young person. That's with you for life.
And they prayed. They prayed for that person.
Yeah, no, it's because I prayed for them.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to that hands-on thing. But that's what Jesus did, right? He took them with him, and he lived with them, and I don't know how we could ever do that in Canada. Like our culture is so far from that, right?
Right.
We're 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
In the ministry.
Yeah.
But over there we have the tremendous blessing and privilege of being able to live with the students that we're training, live with the other missionaries. Matt and Becky live on the top floor of the lighthouse, which is the 5th floor, and Terry and I live on the bottom floor, and all the students and staff are in between.
Okay.
Yeah, but they come and go. But
Yeah.
but that kind of, and then out of there we minister. So one of the traditional problematic mission models was that you would build a compound like that. The missionaries would stay inside, and all the other people would stay out.
Right.
And so you got to be careful of that. You don't want that at all. You want it to be an open house, and but it helps having 33 Thai kids, right? Because then you are totally immersed in the society and the culture and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But one thing I think is on my heart to say to people is that, because people want to know, okay, so what's the challenge? And people would say, you guys sacrificed so much to go over there. And no, we didn't sacrifice anything. We lived in Canada in a shack in the bush with no running water or electricity.
Right.
We got to Bangkok, we had everything.
Yeah.
For the same price, nothing. Right? Like it cost $100 or whatever a month to rent in those days.
Yeah.
And so, but people, they really want to know, like, what is the issue? And the issue is the same for Terry and I as it is for most people in the church here. And that is, you go over there, you miss your family. We come back here, we miss our family that's over there. We've got family in southern states, family in Australia, family all over the place. Our kids are all over the place, as well as Calgary, Lethbridge, and then lots around Thailand in different parts. And you miss those, right? Like, that's the big thing. Our parents missed us, they missed the grandkids, and that's the family thing. And I think that's one of the things that the COVID thing has hit us hard with. But for Terry and I, it hasn't really made much difference, except that we've got kids across town that we can't go see.
Right.
But normally they're across the world and we can't go see them anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think about that, but I think about, and you think about the families in church and how many of our families are gone from their families, right? You've come to Canada recently, or some of your family moved to New Brunswick, or whatever.
Right.
It's the same thing for everybody. But I think, to me, that's one of the biggest challenges. Is that personal relationship. Right now, I really miss our students. Like, we Zoom talk with them and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we're used to doing stuff together, jumping in the Jeep and going someplace and doing something, and I think that's a big challenge. So I really feel for people on that front, the whole family thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I find heartbreaking, and we could say it has to do with COVID or this time or any other time, but that's when people lose their businesses and their jobs or their livelihoods. And I must say that, you see that and you look at it, especially in Canada right now, and you're like, there's people that are out of jobs in Calgary, and there's other people that hasn't made any difference to them.
Yeah.
Right? They still have the same income as before. It's
Right.
like, wow,
Yeah.
how is this? And so, but these are times of tremendous adjustment in our lives.
Yeah.
And I really feel that the key is to make it an opportunity, that's right. And to adjust and to find out how to move ahead. We have one daughter that works in Calgary for years, and she works in oil and gas. And of course, she kept losing her job. She's a very sharp girl, and kept losing her job. And so then we said, you know what, honey, you just need to change fields. And now she's in the financial field, starting way down at the bottom.
Right.
But now she's got a future.
Yeah.
Because oil and gas, I mean, what are we looking at here? You know,
Yeah,
it's a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
And so, but I think that's the thing, is we have to be bold enough, and I think that's one thing that we bring to the table, Sherry, is that with all of the changes and upsets of life,
Yeah.
back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, it was refugees. I mean, there was refugees pouring out of Asia, coming to the West.
Right.
Those people are all displaced. They can't go back to their old life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they better find a way and make a new life.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah.
And great things have come out of it. And so this earth is not our home. Right?
Yeah.
And I love what it says, you know, about Abraham and those guys. It says that God put pilgrimage in their hearts. So we're here as pilgrims, right? But yet we need to make our way through and become influencers and become effective, and to do whatever it takes to do that. And so I think, you know, for me, the message that I really like to encourage people with is get your thinking out of what you know you thought was going to be was going to work and what was going to be normal.
Yeah.
And get into, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to move ahead? And then make it not about yourself, but about how I can prosper and be blessed so that I can be a blessing.
Right. That's good.
And reach people.